Voila.
Hi.
Hi, this is perfect.
Good to
Excellent.
see you. Yes.
Yes. So, Ameenah, welcome. And,
Thank you.
And thank you so very much for being such a wonderful sister and friend and accepting our invitation for today. I'm absolutely delighted. This is not our first exercise.
No.
We've had interviews together before and we had a lot of fun. So this is going to be a great one too.
I'm sure.
If you allow me to start by presenting you.
Sure.
For those who don't know you, and I doubt there are not that many who don't know you nowadays, but I will start with the fact that you are a professor and director of the Centre International de Développement Pharmaceutique, and that you are a biodiversity scientist and research specialist, that you are multiple PhDs and a founding member of the Pan-African Association of African Medicinal Plants. And this is a very important part of what you do because, it's all about the phytotherapy, and with everything happening today, we really need people that have your knowledge to get our continent where it needs to be in terms of medicine. You are also the co-author of the first ever African herbal pharmacopoeia dictionary. And last but not least, you have been the 6th president of the Republic of Mauritius. You are fellow of several academies and societies. You are a world-renowned, recognized expert scientist. You've had a lot of recognition and decorations and prizes. And you made the Forbes list of the 100 most powerful women in 2016. And you are on the Forbes Afrique 100 most influential women in Africa since 2015. So again, welcome, Ameenah, and let's get started.
Thank you, Nadia.
May I first ask you, what makes you an international public speaker? Where do you get that confidence to stand and speak and touch people? And what makes people listen to you?
Nadia, thank you again for the question. Public speak has now become part of my daily, part of the quotidien, as people say. And initially, I spoke from the vantage point of view of having been a professor, as you have already mentioned. So that gave me the confidence to stand up in front of a crowd and to pass my message, whatever I was trying to say, at least to a bunch of students. Now, already when you're speaking to students, you have to be confident into what you're trying to put across to the students. Otherwise, you speak above their head and they will not understand, and becomes very frustrating. But
Yes.
Having said this, speaking as an academic and speaking as a public speaker is two different things together. And what I found in terms of public speaking are a few very important guiding features. First of all, you have to speak to a theme. You have to speak with confidence. You have to make your speech entertaining, informative. You have to make it as brief as possible, as concise as possible. Now, there's something I would say, I think we'll make it as funny as possible in our conversation. There has been an analogy which has been raised that when you're making a speech, it has to be short enough to cover everything.
Yes.
And, long enough to cover everything, but short enough to arouse interest, just like a skirt, people can see it.
Nice analogy.
When you're making a speech, the choice of words are important. The tone of the delivery is very important. The inflections are very important. The pauses are important. And I will cite Mark Twain here. He says, you can have all the right choices of word, but there is nothing as good as the right and appropriate pauses to
Yes.
make sense out, to actually putting forward a message. So I think to me, these are the very essence of public speaking. Make it fun, make it informative, make it short, make it brief, and also put across content that people can actually, can take a message back home when they listen to you after you have made the speech. So the content matters, the delivery matters, and
Yes.
the format of delivery, all these matters. So once you get the grasp of all these, I tend to be very short in my address. I tend to be quite brief, but at the same time, you have to actually be able to deliver on your messaging.
Well, this brings me to my next question. Thank you for already giving us such a rich answer. You, as a former president, are recognized. And so people will ask you to talk. And you are invited, I would say, almost every day to make a speech somewhere. That gives you a lot of topics to talk about. Do you find that people tend to invite you to speak about one topic, one subject more than the others?
I think people will invite you, especially on the international fora, they will invite you by virtue of what you are capable of delivering on, what your persona actually makes you want to deliver on something. For example, I get invited more and more as a woman, and I have been a president, as a scientist, as an entrepreneur. And I think when you put all these together, it creates a very, very powerful theme on which you can use that as a pedestal to actually talk. So for me, what has been very important, and my narrative has stayed the same and has remained constant, is that I will always push forward this notion of empowerment of girls in science, and also the necessity for young people to start thinking about being self-employed, to become entrepreneur. And
Yes.
if you can become an entrepreneur through the sciences, I think we'll be delivering on the famous SDGs of the United Nations. And you know, Nadia, we only have 10 years to deliver on the SDGs, and I don't know whether many countries are ready to deliver. So we need to empower young people. We need to empower girls, especially. Why I say girls? Because, as I said again, very cliche, in a very cliche manner, a bird can fly only on two wings. So we need both girls and boys, men and women together to work towards the sustainable development goals. And again, we need to do it through the premise of science, because it's only
Absolutely.
when we empower the sciences that we will have a continent that is free of hunger, a continent that is free of poverty, a continent that is energy secure, a continent that is food secure, water secure, you name it. This is where the prosperity of the continent lies, through her youth and through science, as a tool, as a vector to achieve these goals.
Youth and science. This is what you strongly advocate. And I have to say, you do it beautifully, because you breathe science, and you are a role model for our girls to become scientists. You speak both French, English, and Mauritian Creole with the same ease. And I've always wondered, when you deliver your speeches with such brio, do you ever feel that you get mixed up in the languages you speak in the middle of a speech?
Well, it all depends on the time of the day. If you're delivering a speech very late at night, speech is okay because you'll be reading it. But if you're having a debate very late, I think occasionally you get mixed up in terms of the linguistics. But no, generally I find that I think in that language. So I think this is already part of the battle won. When you start thinking in the language, you will not have any problem delivering in that language. But of course, we're all human. So if you're very tired, then you tend to mix a few words trying to put across the messaging. But I think, again, something that we advantage on the continent of Africa, because by virtue of our history, we tend to speak most of the languages of the world: English, French, Portuguese, Spanish, you name it, we all have it. And also, what we have to also capitalize and promote is languages which are not very well known, but still many people speak it, like Swahili, for example, which comes to mind. And
Yeah.
Swahili is, again, a very beautiful mix of Arabic, of African words, and all sorts of things. To me, that language also represents our continent, the African continent.
That is a beautiful, beautiful tribute to Swahili, which is, I would say, one of the mother languages, if we consider that, the Rift Valley is one of the
Exactly.
origins of humankind. What tips would you give to people who aspire to become public speakers like you? Any
I
specific
think
tips?
I think, first of all, you need to believe in the cause that you're trying to promote. I strongly believe in what I do, in what I say, and I have remained constant, as I said, in my narrative. And also, you have to learn, read a lot, because when you're delivering a speech, that's fine, because you prepare the speech. But when it comes to question time, very often after a speech, when you get asked questions, be it on the content of your speech, be it on a word or an expression you have used, people will tend to question you on that. So you need a fairly broad readership on the theme. And also kind of always bring in the local perspective, the local dimension. So you need to know the country, the region where you're speaking as well, get to know a bit of preparedness beforehand, so that when you speak to the people, they relate to you, because they will know that you have taken the effort, you have made the effort to go and read about the country, about the people, and then that makes you become even closer to your audience. And one thing as well, whenever I make a public speech, I always look in the eye of the people, try to take the attention. Because if you don't look at them and you feel they're not listening to you, you have to say something that will catch the attention. And it's only when you catch the attention in the initial few minutes of your speech that you know you're the winner. So that's also very, very important. So how you open the speech, the tone of voice you use, the word, the statement you make in the opening of the speech, all these matter a great deal to capture the attention of your audience. You can speak to 10, you can speak to 100, you can speak to 1,000. But if you make it in such a way that you capture the attention, you'll find that you engage with your crowd. Because that, to me, that's very, very important, to be able to engage, so that when the question comes, it's much more of a rapport that you have with the people there. So prepare your speech, get to know the audience, get to know the theme, read around it, read around the area, read around the institution for which you're going to deliver the speech. So all these help to make a very good public speech, and of course a very good delivery.
This is such valuable tips, because it is true that if you know about the environment of the people you're talking to, you make them feel important. It's not about you, right? It's about the people you're speaking to. And if you make them feel valuable because you know about them, it is really fundamental.
Yes.
But also you mentioned how important it is to connect with people through your eye contact and through your tone of voice, just again to create that emotion. And I do know, for having been listening to many of your speeches and your interviews, that you come across as someone extremely passionate, and your passion oozes when you speak. How important is passion when you are a public figure and a public speaker?
You know, when you're passionate, I have always been passionate about what I've done. In fact, I have said this again, I will say it again today, Nadia, is that when you're passionate about what you do, you don't have to work. You know, work becomes your passion, work becomes your hobby. And you have heard me say it so many times before. And you know, one thing always, we must never underestimate the intelligence of the people in front of you. They can see through what you're saying. They can detect lies. It's as if, you expose out there and people are looking through you. So your passion will come through because this is you as a person. This is you, what you believe in, what you're doing, in what you're saying. And it is this that creates this empathy with your crowd. So your passion is like your heart and your hand. This is what I am. This is what I'm good at. This is what I'm not good at. And this is what I can do. And this is what I can do to convince you. So again, be passionate about what you do. It transcends many things. It transcends your life. It transcends your work. It transcends your hobby. It transcends whatever messaging you're trying to put across to the crowd. So just be honest with yourself. It's you. That's all you can be anyway.
Well, that is totally you, as I know you, generous and humble and just a true, real person, very, easy to get in touch with. And that also brings people towards you because, as I often tell you, it's not about the fact that you have been a president. It's about the essence of who you are. And that person, that scientist, that very generous and kind woman who is passionate comes across every time you speak. So you are the embodiment of what you're saying. You're totally authentic. And I think it's absolutely amazing. Thank you for that. I am thinking about, people who are sending me questions. And one comment I see is that you are you're the confirmation that impact is extremely important because what you say is so impactful. And this is because of the passion, but it's also because of the knowledge behind. Speaking is not just coming out there and using beautiful words, but it's really having a knowledge behind. And I know you work very hard at what you say, what you put out there. Someone also asked me if the fact that you are a biodiversity specialist would if you would tell us what is the what are the chances, the strengths of African phytotherapy in the situation we are. Is this something you would like to speak about in a few words?
Yes, African phytotherapy, I mean, it's nothing new. It's been there. And we mustn't forget that Africa is where civilization started. So when our ancestors, I think of Lucy, for example, out in Ethiopia, when she decided she survived, and her relatives and of course her progeny survived because of all the culture, of all the tradition, of all the plants that were around that helped emerge into what I increasingly refer to as an African pharmacopoeia. But unfortunately, Nadia, just like, unfortunately, unlike China, unlike India for that matter, we have not taken that knowledge, that rich knowledge, very, very seriously. If we had, we would have documented a lot of our knowledge, and maybe we would have had more solutions to some of the ailments which are already challenging us now. Now, to come back to the present situation we are in, which has caused this lockdown, I'm a firm believer that there must be plants which can help where we are. We have seen a few trials in some countries, but it is not devoid of. It's not completely futile to just. We can't just discard it. Why I'm saying this is because if you go back in the literature for the past even 10, 15 years, we've had other pandemics before. We've had plants coming to the rescue, right? So why can't this same therapy apply now? In fact, the same plants have been used in the past. So maybe we need to go and dig again what we used last time and apply it now, because right now we are in a full trial stage. We are trying everything because the vaccine is not for tomorrow, right? So
Right.
the best was to avoid, of course, catching the virus. This is why we are told to stay in all the time. But there's nothing preventing some of our remedies locally that have worked in the past against this ailment. because we cannot just wait for the vaccine. The vaccine will come if it comes, because we mustn't forget that there is still no vaccine against HIV, right? There is no vaccine against malaria, right? So we will have to resort to medication as we know it. Some people are already trying, for example, some of the antiretroviral, the ARVs. Some are trying all sorts of. So give it a chance. Why not? We have nothing to lose, because we have survived on this continent by virtue of the plants that we have used so far, right? So I
Yes.
think this is, again, we should not be survived. We should try it. And, you know, at the end of the day, a herbal remedy, for example, if even we use, for example, simple things like vitamin C, which help to boost our immune system. So if we have an immune system which is ready to confront an invasion by a virus or a bacteria, so we'd have won the battle, right? So I think we should, again, go back to that law of our grandmother's recipes and dig and see. This is how you discovered artemisinin, right? And she discovered it after years of work, and of course that got culminated with the Nobel in 2015. So I think the remedies are there, but we have to know, we have to safeguard, we have to protect, and we also have to value it. China values allopathic medicine at the same par with traditional knowledge. So why can't we do that in Africa? Why can't we do it? Why is it any different?
This is such an invaluable answer. Thank you so much for that. We've learned a lot. I'm going to ask you another question, as we have so many topics in common, and gender is one of them. I noticed, you know, through the trainings that we do, that women, and particularly African women, tend not to want to be out there on the scene to speak. Many of them hesitate when they're invited on a panel. So what advice would you give them?
You know, this goes back a long way. It goes back to their childhood. I will again sound very cliche here. It goes back to the childhood when the girl is asked to stay home. The girl is not capable of doing this, that, or the other. We haven't developed, we haven't pushed them to the limit to say that you can do it. So this is something that I inculcate in young kids. I tell them, especially little girls, I say to them, you are beautiful, you are capable, you are intelligent, get out there and make them listen to you. And I think this is something we have to say to our young girls as well. They are capable, they are intelligent, they are capable of doing anything. But what we have to do, and this is our duty, Nadia, in our generation, is to put them out, to go out there and speak to them, to mentor them, to tell them it is possible. And they have to get that self-confidence to stand there and speak their mind. And we have to encourage them to do that. It's only when we have a fully empowered, a fully confident female workforce on our continent, because mind you, the informal sector is driven by women. Unfortunately, yes, they are the people who are going to bear the brunt of the COVID right now, because they are not going to get the appropriate stimulus packages as we speak. This is, again, the fault of our institutions, the way it's been built. And this is my plea again to all institutions. We make sure that little hairdresser, that woman who is sewing clothes in her home, she gets the appropriate stimulus so that she can keep her business going. So this is the messaging we have to put right now. Again, to these girls, to these women, we have to give them the training. And right now, Nadia, this is the time to retrain and to upskill and to reskill. Because we're having the slot, we can do it, and we need to do it because we have to move fast when the recovery comes so that businesses are not lost and livelihoods are not destroyed. So it's our duty to do that. And women in Africa, tell them that without them, there's no food on the table every day. So they are there. They are the rock on whom our societies have built homes, have built houses, have built families. So they are important. And we need to tell them that without them, we can't progress. So they are there, but we need to tell them they are there.
Thank you, Ameenah, for being such a gender champion and Afro optimist and pushing us out there, because yes, our girls must feel more confident. We have so much to share to the world. but we
Exactly.
cannot share it if we do not take stage. We
Yes.
cannot share it if we are not that many out there.
Nadia, we also have to tell Africans, we have to tell our stories. We must not put pictures out there which always stereotype the African child with that child with a runny nose, with flies on his face. This is not an African child. So we need to really to take stock of our destiny. We need to actually shape our messaging, because there's so many good stories out there which are not sold because we don't write our stories. So up until we don't come to terms with who we are, what we have done, where we have come from, and where we're going to, we will always be mired in this narrative of negativity. And this is not something we can afford, not to these young people out there, because don't forget, the African continent is the youngest continent on this planet.
Yes.
And there's so much to be done. And I'll just take one example, one sector where Africa can make a difference. And maybe again, this is again down to self-confidence. We have on our continent 60% of the world's arable land. We have a business in agriculture which is worth $1 trillion by 2025, which is not far away. So where are the opportunities for our young people are there? But we need to take them there through improving the self-confidence to say that we're going to toil the land and we're going to make our living at. There's no harm in that, of toiling the land. But we need to actually flag in the technology which is there, which will help them move along. So again, we take away another cliche of the African woman actually putting, with the baby in her back in the midday sun, plowing and taking the hoe and digging the soil, a dry soil for that matter. This is the kind of image we have of Africa and women in agriculture. It is not the case. It is a sector which is very, very promising. And our young people, if they start going into agriculture, if they start going to manufacturing, if they start going into all these sectors, we will have innovation, we will have patent, and whomsoever talks about patent talks about that tool as being a wealth generator. So it is our duty to tell these young people, especially the girls, that they can do it. They can do it through sheer dint of hard work, and they can do it if they can say to themselves, yes, we can.
You are such a leader, my dear. I am always admirative every time I listen to you. I never get enough of those conversations we have. It's amazing because you've just demonstrated in half an hour that public speaking is being able to touch any topic with authority and yet with so much humility and care. And all I can say is thank you a million times. I see all these messages coming through of, people following and just saying you're a true leader and they're loving your answers. And so I have to convey to you that you have just blown our minds once again. And I'm full of gratitude for this. Thank you so much, Ameenah, for giving us this masterclass of leadership and public speaking.
Thank you, Nadia.
And
it's been a pleasure.
Please, you were saying?
It's been a pleasure speaking to you as usual.
As usual. We will keep our conversations going. For now, I'm just going to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts, from Gilles and myself, from Acosphere, and from our teams, but also thank you from all those who have been listening and who are sending me thanks to convey to you. And to all of you who are with us today, I have also to express our gratitude for your trust and for your time. And I will give you another rendezvous next Thursday, 4:30 GMT. We will be speaking to another lady, Valerie Mason Cunningham. She's American. She's an awesome speaker, and she also has a lot of knowledge. And Valerie, you are here. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you. So next week, we will be speaking with Valerie Mason Cunningham. Same time, same place. Until then, please stay blessed and safe, confined, because we want to see all of you post-COVID. Ameenah, thank you again a million times, and much, much love to you, and take good care of yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, Jill.
Bye-bye.